kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back, 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, if the ACA has increased, I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. We find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group.
You are listening to This Week in Clown World with Ben and Hobbs, so sit back, relax, take your black pill, and enjoy the show.
Holy shit. The American presidential election, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, it's right.
I assume people are watching it. You wanted to do a simulcast, but I don't know. It seemed I didn't realize it was an hour and a half. I thought it seemed kind of hard to commentate and listen at the same time. So I guess we got a large chunk of it under our belt to throw some opinions out there.
Yeah, it's I expected pretty much exactly how Trump is right now. I expected him to be exactly like this. He talks.
I think he's doing better than he has. He seems very even-tempered.
Yeah.
I like how he's looking at the moderators and the camera, and Joe keeps turning to look at Trump. It just like Trump's not even acknowledging that there's a weird old man off to his left, sort of thing.
And he just looks awful. Not Trump, Biden. He looks lost. He's starting to get to that point where he's going from his like sleepy, weak to now he's getting his old man rage up. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that it's just outdated talking point and lie and outdated talking point and lie.
You can tell he's just stuck in an echo chamber all the time. And you can tell Trump goes out, or he's got a team of people that goes out and checks what the opposition's saying. It seems like Biden is not doing that at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hate both these choices, honestly. Just I can't believe this is what we ended up with. The Democrats have to do better, for one.
Well,
to keep the Republicans honest.
Well, maybe, but I'm starting to think that they might have set Biden up to fail on this one. His voice, he hasn't lost his voice. He never had his voice to begin with. He came out sounding raspy and awful. He looks tired. He looks out of sorts. It's like he doesn't even know where he's at. It's just, it's not good. And I think that this debate was going to be his make or break, I think. I think that behind the scenes, they made a deal with him that you come out and you give a good showing, we'll continue with the campaign. You come out and you get trounced, we've got to slot somebody else in at the 11th hour. And I think he went into this thinking that he could do a good job, and whoever is in his corner, I think they set him up to fail.
Well, and it's just stuff he's saying too. It's been so widely debunked that there's no point in even saying it. Like the Charlottesville thing, he kept saying over and over that Trump came out and said that the Nazis there were good people.
Yeah,
it's like
it's stupid.
Wasn't said at all. I mean, just a couple of days ago, it came out that it was further debunked that he never said it, just because it pops up so much.
Right, which is why I think that he was set up to fail. I think that Snopes came out with that when they did, because they knew that he was going to bring it up in the debate, and it'd be just easy to shoot down. Now they're talking about climate change or something. Another bunch of crap.
And Trump really beat him up on the Ukraine thing, especially as far as the money, the NATO. He owned up. Joe Biden called him out on. He said, you said you would pull out of NATO or let Russia do what they want if they don't pay their bill. And Trump said, yeah, I told them pay their bill, or I'm not going to help them.
And they did.
Go figure. They pay. I think the only countries that aren't caught up are maybe Iceland, who has no standing military, but they're strategically advantageous, so they might get a pass. And I think a couple other random. I think one of the big ones is on there, aren't they? Germany or France or one of them. But
Germany, being the economic engine of Western Europe, they've never had their 2% of GDP that I know of, at least not since reunification, which is when NATO should have gone away to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
here we go with this. Tax your fair share. Tax your fair share.
What step would Biden take to keep Social Security solvent? There's no step you can take at this point.
Yep. Challenge level impossible.
My retirement plan was I would probably die young, but I just keep living. I just keep going. I'm going to make it to retirement.
And have nothing.
And have nothing. I mean, I think that's a lot of people's plan at this point, was they didn't figure they'd live too long and they just keep going.
I know it was kind of my plan. I figured if the Army didn't kill me, then my lifestyle would.
Yeah. Crazy lifestyle and climbing communications towers. Just figured I'd cash in at some point, but I just keep going.
Yeah. So I don't know. Can the audience hear?
I could put it so they could hear it. Do we want to?
I don't think we can, because I heard that there was.
I can hide it down here. Let me see if I can hide it down low. I mean,
American public has.
You think they've got something going to block it?
And on the AC, as I said,
maybe
you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people.
We got to fuck around and find out.
40 million people.
Yeah.
Get called by the CNN police.
They have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that.
I mean, this might make it if we keep one here. I'll be if we keep somebody small down here.
The other thing is, we're in a situation where we talk about education.
There you go. You can be the star.
Black communities. the amount of money for
thanks for joining us, the people that are here. We've got, I guess it's very popular. We've got 0 viewers on YouTube.
We've got 5 on Rumble.
Down to 4.
He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen
how Joe turns and just stares at him.
He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine.
There he goes. He's starting to dig into Biden now.
It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, He's
Rick over
destroying
here
it
in my group
because
chat,
millions
he's
of
giving us
people are
regular
pouring into our
updates on
country,
the
and they're putting them onto Social
Predict
Security.
It,
They're putting
the
them onto
betting app,
Medicare, Medicaid.
Yeah.
They're putting them in our
and
hospitals. They're taking
who
the
will win the
place of our
2024
citizens.
presidential
What they're
election?
doing to the
Trump
VA,
is
to
up
our
to
veterans is unbelievable. Our
61.
veterans are living in the streets,
Biden's
and
down
these
to
people are living in
39.
luxury hotels. He
Gavin
doesn't know
Newsom's
what
up to
he's doing,
13.
and it's really coming back.
Kamala
I've
Harris
never
is up to
seen such
5.
anger in our country
And Robert
before.
Kennedy Jr. is holding
President
steady
Biden.
at 5.
The idea
What
that
about the old
veterans are not
libertarian
taken
guy?
care of.
Zero,
I told you that.
0.1.
By the way,
Not
when they
even
said Trump was
registering, huh?
illegal,
Not
he
even
said-
on the
He
list.
acknowledged after that he
Unpredicted.
fired
I
that
forgot about
gentleman.
that. They're usually
That
pretty
gentleman got
accurate too,
fired
aren't they?
Because he's the one that acknowledged.
Well, yeah,
that
if you're
that's what he
betting
said.
with your
He was the one
money.
standing with Trump when he said it. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the
They took our
fastest growing
jobs.
economy in the world. The reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And
No,
by the
we're
way,
not.
Those 15
Well,
Nobel
yeah,
laureates
we
that
are,
just
but that's
got
not saying
appointed,
much.
Those
Yeah.
15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession. And,
I love
and
Trump's
inflation's
faces.
gonna
Yeah.
increase a lot. And by the way, worst president in
Instead of
history,
just staring
the
at Joe with his
59
mouth open
presidential
while Joe's
scholars
talking
voted
like Joe
for him
Biden is
the
doing.
worst
He's,
president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to
Called
afford.
Trump the
President
worst
Trump, both
president
you
in
and
the history of
President
the United
Biden
States.
have tried to address
That's a
this
bit
issue.
of a
But
stretch,
the
buddy.
average
Have you
cost
looked
of
in the
child care in
mirror?
this country
Little
has risen to more
subjective.
than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly
Oh, we're back
respected,
on
much
this
more
shit
so than
again?
him.
Joe keeps bringing
The
it
other
up.
thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired
needs
a
to
lot
fire
of
a
the top
lot more
people
if he gets
at
in.
the FBI, drained the swamp. They were
Yeah,
no good.
needs to,
Not easy to
do
fire
a
people.
clean
You pay
sweep.
a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have
He's not
fired
calling the shots.
every military man that was
Yeah.
involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst
Well,
border in the
you
history of
know,
the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing
it's
18
one of those
million
nights.
people, many from prisons?
This is
many
what we got to
from-
look forward to.
From mental institutions, did you fire anybody
I
that
still don't
allowed
know
our
what a
country to
second
be
Trump term
destroyed?
is going to, I mean,
Joe, our country is being destroyed.
want
as you and I
Armageddon.
sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate.
What do
He's
you-
the
what
worst
do you think will
president.
happen with
He
the
just said about
Ukraine?
me because I said it. But look, he's the worst
I mean,
president
is
in the
it-
history of our country.
Negotiate
He's
a deal.
destroyed our country.
There's no way
Now, all
that
of a sudden,
Ukraine
he's trying
can
to
come
get
out
a
ahead
little
of
tough on the
this.
border. He came out with a
well,
nothing.
I mean, are they
a
going to
nothing
have
deal,
some sort of
and
sunk
reduced
cost
a little
fallacy
bit-
where,
a little bit, like
Trump
this
can't
much. It's
let him have any of the,
insignificant.
how's he going to
wants
keep
open
Putin
borders.
from wanting any of
He
that
wants our
territory back
country
is
to
what I
either
wonder.
be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as
Putin
voters.
is never going to give up
And
Crimea.
I don't think we just can't let it happen.
And
If
he can't give up
wins this election,
Donbass
our country doesn't
because
have
then
a
the
chance,
Ukrainians will
not
just
even
start
a
shelling it
chance
again.
of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We are the most
Ed Black is
admired
over here in
country
my
the
group
world.
chat. He says
is the United
nootropics are
States
wearing
of
off in
America.
real time.
There's nothing
Yeah.
beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody. Number one.
He's
Number
getting
two,
pretty
the
angry.
idea that
Yep,
we're
he's getting that
talking
old
about
man
worst
rage.
presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history.
Gee,
Going from
158
best to worst.
historians
They
from
said he was
the
worst in
progressive
all
college
of
system.
American history.
Yeah,
That's a
in
fact.
Washington,
That's
D.C.
not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they
That's
voted.
nothing but
The
conjecture.
idea
That's
that he
those
was
historians'
not
personal
doing anything
opinions,
to
you
do
fucking
with
turd.
childcare. He did virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. and we should encourage businesses to hold.
Only women and men, though. What about all the other
President
genders,
Trump, the
Joe?
question was about what would you do to make childcare more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you.
You know, I'd really like
And they rate me one
for
of the
Trump,
best,
instead of
okay?
just saying, I'm great, he's
If I'm
bad, to
given
like
another 4 years,
quantify
I will be
it,
the
please.
best.
Yeah.
I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes
Now
by
you're
4 times. He wants
quantifying
the
it.
Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4
Look
to
at the
5
look on
times.
Joe's
Nobody
face.
ever heard of this before.
Yeah, it's
All
like
my
he's
life,
having
I
a
grow up
stroke
and I
or
see
something. The
politicians
left side of his
talking
face is
cutting
about to
taxes.
fall
When
off.
we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country.
I do kind of
The
think
worst president
the
in
economy's
history by
been a
far,
little
and everybody knows it.
hamstrung,
President
and
Biden?
Look,
it's really
going to
take off if Trump gets
dead
in.
wrong about.
Oh, yeah.
Even because of like an
tax-
Atlas
he's
Shrugged
increased-
thing, the
he will
business
increase
community wants to.
the taxes on middle class.
Right, yeah.
people. I said I'd never
The
raise the
big
taxes on
business,
anybody
the
making less
Apples, the
than
Googles and
$400,000.
shit, they'll
I didn't.
never admit it
These
in
tariffs, it's
public.
10% tariffs.
But they
Everything
know that
coming into the
Trump is
country,
good
you know
for
what the
business.
economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because
just
they're going to have to
making
pay the
shit
difference
up.
in food and all the things that are very important. Number two, he's in a situation where
Trump, like,
he
squinting,
talks
like,
about
what?
how he
What are you
has
talking
not
about,
raised,
Joe?
He's somehow helped the middle class. Middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years. which is
Joe,
gonna
you've been the president
fundamentally
for the last
bankrupt the
4
country.
years, not
You're the
him. This
largest
isn't the
tax of any
2020
president in
debates. The
American
middle
history,
class has been
number one.
devastated by
Number
you.
two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit.
You can't make progress with China because you've been the president, you idiot.
Let's discuss
The
an epidemic
Joes,
impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority.
I think
in
he's
your first
missing the
term,
last 4
the
years of his
opioid
life.
crisis. And for both of you, the number
Yeah,
of
Trump, why didn't you
overdose
make any
deaths in
progress
this
with
country
China the
has
last
gone
4
up.
years?
Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Their questions
Finish
haven't
up.
been terrible.
We now
You
have
know,
the
I'm
largest
actually a little
deficit in
more
the history of our
impressed than I
country
thought
under
I
this
would
guy.
be
Yeah.
We have the
with the way
largest
that these
deficit
two.
with China.
Because, I mean,
He
Jake
gets paid by
Tapper
China.
was
He's a
literally
Manchurian
calling
candidate.
him
He
like
gets money from
Hitler the
China.
other day,
We have,
and
so I think he's
Dana
afraid to deal with him,
Bash's
something.
husband was
But
one of
do
the
you notice he
51
never took out my
dipshits
tariffs because
that
we bring in
signed
so
that
much money with the
on your
tariffs that I
laptop is
imposed
Russian
on China.
disinformation.
He
So the
never
fact
took
that they're
them
being
away.
this
Can't because it's
this
too much
level,
money.
I'm
It's
kind of
tremendous.
shocked.
And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the
Boy,
largest
what did we miss? How did he
deficit
get to
in the
tariffs
history
from a
of
drug
our
question?
country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border.
I mean, that is.
It started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it.
What?
We did a lot.
The most incredible dog.
Beautiful
Very low
dogs.
numbers. Very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18
The
million
most beautiful
people that I
drug
believe
sniffing
is even low,
dogs.
because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways.
They're like those, what are those,
But the
Bolshois or
numbers
whatever?
Of the amount of drugs
Belgian
and human
Malinois?
trafficking in women.
Well, no, the
coming
dogs that
across
the
our
long
border.
silky
The
coats
worst
on
thing
them.
I've
Those
ever
are the
seen.
those are the drug. Those are
At
the beautiful
numbers that
drug
nobody's
dogs.
ever seen under
Oh,
him because the
like an
border's so
Afghan
bad.
shepherd or
Yeah.
something.
But the number of drugs coming across our border now
Can I pet that
is the
dog?
largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while.
Fentanyl
And
is
I
fucking
know kids still
awesome.
use them.
My
They
son
still
loves
to
it.
detect fentanyl. These big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And
What
it
the
cost a
fuck
lot
is
of
he
money.
talking
That
about?
was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal.
Trump is like,
More
what are you
fentanyl
talking about,
machines,
dude?
more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all over the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his
404 error out.
Republican colleagues and said, don't do it. It's going to hurt me. No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every
What
country
machine are you
in
talking
Asia
about?
in terms of precursors for fentanyl.
Something about a
And
machine
Mexico's
going over the
working with us to
border?
make
I don't.
sure they don't have the technology to be able to put
What,
it together.
tanks? I'm for
That's what we
tanks
have to
going
do.
over the
We
border.
need
I have
those
no idea what the
machines.
fuck he's talking
Thank you,
about.
President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, because this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We
Look
had
how he
so
looks
many
at him.
things
I
that
just
we
can't
had
get-
done. Hard negotiations.
I
with
know,
Mexico,
it's like
and I got it all for
the
nothing.
left side of
It's
his
just like
face
when
is
you have
about
a
to
hostage.
fall
We always
off.
pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter. I think a good guy. And he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office,
Oh, they're
I
talking
said
about that reporter
by
that Carlson
literally,
asked about.
As soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter
How-
out. He should have had him out a long time ago. But Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had two cases.
I mean,
where
the
he paid
moderator's
$6
got to be
billion
getting
for
frustrated at
5
this point.
people.
They're not
I
even
got
trying to answer
58
the
people
questions.
out, and I paid
Right, yeah.
essentially nothing.
Speaking of hostages
Thank you,
being
President
held
Trump.
over in
Let's turn to
Russia,
concerns that voters have about each of you.
that guy Victor Boot,
President Biden,
the one
Yeah.
that we
you would
traded
be 86
Brittany
at the
Griner
end of
for.
your second
Yeah.
term.
He was
How do you
he was on
address
Alex Jones for
concerns
like 2 hours
about
a
your
few weeks ago.
capability to handle the
What?
toughest job in the
Yeah.
world well into your 80s?
Yeah, three weeks
first of
ago, when it
all,
looked like
I
Alex was going to get
spent half
shut
my
down, I guess
career
he just
in-
was like, "Fuck it, we're going to
because
talk
I've
to
been the
everybody."
youngest
And like,
person
yeah, Victor
in
Boot was on
politics.
for
I was the
2
second
hours
youngest
or 2
person
hours and
ever
45
in
What
the
was
minutes.
that
United
guy
States
like?
Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's
It was a
3
good
years younger
interview.
and a lot less
I'll
confident.
I'll look for it and send
I
you the
think
link.
Just look at the record. Look at what I've
So
done.
is he
I've
really
turned
a
around
merchant
this
of
horrible
death or
situation
whatever?
he
Or
left me.
what?
As I said, 15 million new jobs.
No, well, I
800,000
mean, he
manufacturing
seems
jobs,
like the kind of guy
more
that was just
investment in
like,
America.
he was
Over
dealing with
billions
weapons
of
because weapons
dollars
was a
of private
good business to
investment
be in at the time that he was doing it.
enterprises that we are growing.
But he's
By the way, we
a
brought
lot
an
of the
awful
things
lot
that he was
people
talking
on.
about. He was,
The whole
like,
idea.
there is no
Computer chips,
reason
we
that
sell 40%
Russia and
of the
America
market.
at this
We
point in
invent those
history should be
chips,
at each other's
and we
throats. We
lost
should
it
be helping
because
each
he was
other
sending people
because
to
we both
to
have
find the
something to
cheapest
gain
jobs
from it. The
overseas
fact that we're
and to
still
bring home a
seeing each
profit.
other
So
as
I went
enemies
to South Korea.
is
convinced
good for
Samsung
nobody.
to invest
Yeah.
billions of dollars here in the United States.
Wasn't
And they're-
wasn't
guess what? Those
you ever
fabs
see that?
they
Was
call
it
them,
Dogs of
to-
War?
to-
What was the
to-
movie
to-
with
to build these
Jonah
chips.
Hill?
Those
And they were
fabs pay
War
over
Dogs.
$100,000.
War Dogs.
You don't need a
Didn't
college degree
wasn't
for it.
the character in that movie the
Billions.
Russian based on
$40
him?
billion already being invested in
I don't know if
right
that
now
if it was
in the
that
United
movie. I know
States,
that it was
creating
Nicolas
significant
Cage in
jobs
Lord of
for
War
Americans all over from all over
that
the
was
world.
supposed to be kind of
Maybe
loosely
I'm
President
based
getting
Biden,
on.
War
you have
Dogs and
40
Lord of
seconds
War
left.
mixed
Would you
up.
like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow
No, I
we
think it
are,
was War
this
Dogs.
failing
They
country.
they do some
Never heard a
business
president
with
talk like this
a
before.
Russian in that
We're the
movie.
envy of the world.
Have you seen War Dogs before?
Major
I
country
did.
president
I don't really
wouldn't trade
remember too
places
much
with the
about it
United
though.
States of America. For all our problems and all our opportunities.
Yeah, let's see.
We're the
War
most
Dogs
progressive
Victor.
country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies, and our
You had to
and
quantify it there. Everybody
those
trusts
who
us.
he-
All of our allies.
Yeah. I don't think our allies even trust us.
They
honestly.
don't want to screw around with us.
Don't talk to the Kurds.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public.
I take the
He took
best
9. I'd like
cognitive
to see him
tests.
take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And
This
you know
is
what? If I didn't do
wonderful.
well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what anyway, just take a look at what he says.
Anyway.
Take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. The reason I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And by the way, I told you.
Oh, he's flagging. He's flagging.
Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie that he's a 6 handicap of all.
Now he's just toying with it. Come on. I want 2015 shit talking Trump. I want President-elect Trump
To
to
the
come out.
specific concern that voters have about you, will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Holy
Well, I
shit.
shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that.
So,
It's totally unacceptable.
over here in my group
And if
chat,
you would see my statements that I made
the
on
Border
Twitter at the
Patrol
time,
Union, the
and
National
also my
Border
statement
Patrol
that I made in
Union,
the Rose Guard, you would say it's one of the
real
strongest
tweet.
statements you've ever seen.
To
In
be
addition to the
clear, we
speech I
never
made
have
in
and
front of,
never
I believe, the
will
largest
endorse
crowd I've ever
Biden.
spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the
Holy
Capitol,
shit.
and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously
Good
failing
closeout.
nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad.
Told the old
His
Cincinnatus.
military policies are
There you go.
insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. Attack on one,
All right,
attack on
he
all.
keeps bringing up how
Response.
Europe's
The idea.
Putin can't even handle
I can't
Ukraine.
think of a
Okay,
single
I'm not
major
too
leader
worried
in the world who wouldn't
about
trade places
Putin
with the job they've
steamrolling
done, what they've
into
done.
Poland
Because we are a
or
powerful
wherever
nation.
the fuck.
We
At
have
this
wonderful
point,
peace because of
Moldova
the
might
people,
give him a run for.
not
I
least
mean,
because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed.
Russian
And right now,
population
we're
is
needed. We're needed to
150
protect
million.
The world because
Yeah.
of our own
He could
safety
draft
is
and
at stake.
conscript
And again,
every single
you wanna have a
person
war,
in
just let Putin go ahead and take
the country, every
make
man,
sure
woman,
that
and child,
Iran,
and he
see
would
what happens in
have
Poland, Hungary, and other
1/3
places along that
the
border.
population of
Then you
Europe.
have a war.
Mm-hmm. yeah,
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia,
Oh, I love
they
these.
took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from
Okay,
Trump.
fair
Nothing.
point.
He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him
That's a
very
fair
well, but he
point.
knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this with? he's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will
Nope.
never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level.
You know
because the
what? I
people
kind of wonder if
understand it.
YouTube nuked it because
Let's
they
see
can
what
see
your
that
numbers
video
are
on it.
when this election is over.
See this video on
Let's
here.
see.
We
You're
still have
whining.
zero. Nobody's
You
popped
lost
in
the
at all
first
on
time.
YouTube.
You continue
Yeah,
to field and
they
appeal to
they
courts
said
all across
that
the
they
country.
wouldn't allow
Not
anybody to
one
live stream and
single court in
commentate on it.
America said any of your claims
If
had
you're watching
any
on
merit,
Rumble, then
state or local,
should be
none.
okay.
But you
We'll find
continue to
out.
provoke this lie about somehow there's all this
If we get hit with a DMCA
misrepresentation, all
lawsuit,
this stealing.
oops.
There's no
Oops.
evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner.
That's why you have an
The idea
LLC.
if you lose again, you're accepting anything. You can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Well, they're going over an hour and a half then.
Yeah,
Or did
we'll
they
be
start
right.
late?
Well, yeah, they started 5 minutes late. We'll be back with more of CNN's existential dread.
Well,
Yeah.
and it seemed like a couple times they were cut once Biden would start blathering. It didn't seem like a minute to me. You know,
No,
so,
they cut him off.
yeah, I think they were doing him a little bit of a favor there, and cutting him short. I mean, is predicted getting worse as the show's going on? Let's see.
Yeah, his skin suit is starting to slip. Oh well.
2024 president election winner. What was it earlier? It's 59 Trump, 39 Biden now.
It was 61 Trump earlier.
Gavin Newsom gained some more. He's at 10 now.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, so Bongino was saying today and yesterday that he thinks that they're kind of slow or soft rolling Hillary into position because she's been showing up on the talk show circuit a lot more.
Nobody likes it. I mean, how are the Democrats so out of touch with everything?
That's exactly what it is. Like, they're in an echo chamber, they're in a bubble. They love Hillary Clinton, so they assume everybody else loves Hillary Clinton too, even though she's a moldy old blood gargling.
She's so
psychopath.
unlikable. I mean, she's pretty much a meme at this point of Karen unlikability, sociopathic murderer.
Yep. I sent Simon the link, and I think he's
probably watching this.
Yeah, he's watching it right now, and he was going to come in and give his 2 cents. But if they go for the 2 hours, I guess we'll probably just have to get. I mean,
Gavin Newsom's up 5 cents today.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump's up 4 cents today. This is unpredicted. Joe Biden's down 6 cents.
Mm-hmm. So while we have a little bit of a lull here in everything, I think that now would be a good time to, if you don't follow us on the social media, you might not know, but last week we had Trevor and Ali talking about the bump stock case. And unfortunately, we had to put that video into private because of some stuff with Ali's job. So maybe once all of the stuff surrounding his situation clears up, we'll be able to put that back out there. I don't know when that'll be.
Yeah, our messages, and we'll vet that you're not a Fed boy. We'll make you send us a picture of Sharpie in your pooper or something, and we'll give you the video link.
We'll send you the link for feet pics.
Yeah.
But
or if we know you personally and you really want to see the Bump Stock show, we'll give you the link. Just get a hold of us.
yeah,
It was a good show.
yeah, it was. It was pretty good. But
Somebody over here, I didn't see. Real Elenos has been watching.
yeah, I know who that is.
Okay.
So but in the video last week, I mentioned that I had sent a message to Michael Cargill, the guy behind the Supreme Court decision to overturn the bump stock ban, and he actually got in touch with me a couple of days ago. The media contact form that I filled out on his website had spots for name, phone number, email address, and a brief description. And I told him to feel free to reach out to me any way that he seemed fit. And he decided to give me a call while I was in the break room getting coffee. So I got to speak to the man himself. And he will be on tomorrow.
If there's any way we can get Ali on with that.
I can ask. I have no guarantee that he can, considering that that we had to private.
I mean, surely if he just talks about I don't know, it'd be worth asking. I think Ali would probably want to meet him.
That's a possibility. So I talked to Michael about that, and I thought that Ali was cited in the actual court case itself, but Ali was cited in the writ for certiorari. And I sent the screenshots. Trevor sent me the PDF of the writ of cert, and I sent those screenshots to Michael. And
okay,
so he knows about that. And yeah, hopefully it's going to be a really good show tomorrow. I'm going to ask him about all the questions I have, a few questions that some friends of mine had asked. I'm sure you've got some questions too, Ben.
Yeah, it'll be better than this shit that we're watching right now, which they're back for closing comments.
Old man yells at old man.
I paused it, so
all right.
Joe Biden's going first.
From the debacle that was left by President Trump. And
was he doing a Robert F. Kennedy impersonation?
Find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have
hardly
a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit, number one. He's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare to.
I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do with my hands. He's doing the hands thing.
Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the.
I shouldn't laugh. It's sad that this man is the president.
Over 10 years.
He needs to ride off into the sunset, and everybody in his orbit needs to be charged with elder abuse.
Senior.
Yeah.
All along, it's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do, all he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding.
Oh, Simon's here.
Because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like. Even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why
you
I had
can
the
use this
highest approval
shitty
rating
medical
in the
system with
history
the rest of
VA.
us.
So all of these things, we're in a failing nation.
Yeah,
but
the
it's
only
not
place in
gonna be
America
failing
where there's
anymore. We're gonna
socialized
make it
health
great
care.
again.
Imagine that. Long
Thank
waits,
you,
ration
former
care.
President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now.
No, thank you.
Yep, no thanks. Wow. So,
Simon, you still there?
Yes, I am.
how did you enjoy that?
It was pretty pitiful, to be honest. I mean, Biden, I think, froze up. It's not fair to say froze up. Lost completely his train of thought, like 6 or 7 times. It's interesting that the Daily Mail is saying that Democrats are now considering using the 25th Amendment to remove him.
So,
and we've been following predicted over here. I mean, Joe Biden lost 6 predicted. Are you familiar with that, Simon?
No, not familiar with predicted.
Basically, you can buy. It's a gambling. It's basically gambling. And Joe Biden's lost 6 points on the predicted site. Trump's up 4 points. Gavin Newsom up 5 points.
For who will win the 2024
election.
So what I've got a couple of chats open on my phone over here, and I'm talking to some various people, and kind of the overwhelming consensus with the people that I'm talking to is that this was setting him up to fail. Because they wanted an excuse to get him out of here, and this poor showing was exactly what they needed. Do you think that's accurate?
Personally, I think it could have been worse for him. I mean, it was pretty undignified as well. I mean, just flat out calling each other liars repeatedly. And most countries, maybe not in a public debate, but certainly in parliamentary procedures, would have regarded that as inappropriate, and people would have been suspended from attendance. So that was pretty unfortunate.
Yeah, but were either of them wrong in that assessment?
I thought, frankly, I was a bit shocked by Trump's performance. He was, and I've watched him for over a decade. He was speaking in extremely short sentences, often not finishing the sentences. It's important to note that Tapper personally saved Biden at least half a dozen times.
I know I brought that up before you were here too. I noticed that.
So when he was literally starting to mumble and bumble, Tapper would come in and say, "Thank you very much," and just cut him short. before.
I was
he
like,
just,
I noticed that too. I was like, wait a minute, that was like 37 seconds. That wasn't a minute.
They definitely had the CNN Biden plunge protection team was working. I saw lots of funny memes of Jake and his co-host there as the young duo in A Weekend at Bernie's, trying to prop Biden up for 90 minutes, and I think that was entirely appropriate.
I mean, Biden didn't completely fail. I mean, it wasn't a shit your pants moment.
No. I mean, he didn't trip over his shoelaces and kind of gnaw on the cable on the ground or anything.
But he definitely was a confused old man.
His closing statement was very disjointed, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it was all over the place.
Given that he took a week off to prepare for this, they're now saying that White House doctor examined him and declared that he had a cold 2 days ago as an explanation for his raspy voice that he hasn't used because he hasn't been seen in public for a week.
Well,
Despite
I mean, everywhere I go,
all the incredible events that have been occurring, including the visit from the Israeli defense minister, who appears to have been peddling yet more false information about Iranian weapons of mass destruction. I mean, Trump was correct when he said that we're moments away from World War III. Things are incredibly tense. And I would point out to your audience that if they want a real juxtaposition between those two men and another world leader, tomorrow, at the 70th anniversary of the 5-point peace conference, President Xi of China is going to be giving a really big speech on the future of Chinese foreign policy. And so that would be real interesting to compare what his speech, which is likely to be 45 minutes, an hour, is like in comparison to what we've seen of 45 minutes from each of those two men there.
Right. So I sent Ben a link here. Maybe you can pull it up. This was a prediction dropped earlier today about how this debate would go. So maybe we could roll that real quick and have a good laugh before we close out the debate discussion. And you sent me something about the Israel-Gaza war, and we can jump into that real quick as soon as we play this here. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
To the first 2024 presidential debate. The rules for tonight: after Trump answers a question, each moderator will have 2 minutes for a rebuttal.
What?
And in the spirit of democracy, there will be no audience.
Oh, but you're used to that, Dana, aren't you?
How dare you?
Sleepy Jake Napper knows as well as I that you made sure there wasn't an audience here tonight because they would all cheer for me.
We didn't want to wake the president up.
I was going to put him
Can't even stay awake to be president. How sad. How gay.
She knew so long as she was 9.
First question. Former president convicted felon Hitler. Why did you mock a disabled person?
Because he's running against me for president. Next question.
How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? You can fake camera against the court. This is my sleep station of presidential debate.
Kleptocracy.
You're going to wake him up. Stop.
Oh no. If he wakes up, he might end up bothering whoever the actual president is.
How dare you?
He doesn't even know where he is half the time.
Wait.
Oh, good God.
Oh, did I upset you, Dana Trash?
You woke him up.
Come on, man.
Mr. President, hello. We're so sorry to disturb you.
Donald Trump's presidency. Guess what? You know.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. I agree.
Joe, you can't say that. You're not supposed to say that.
What am I doing here?
Mr. President, he's trying to trick you.
What in the hell is he talking about?
He threatened you, Joe. He pulled a knife.
Mr. President, no, I didn't threaten you.
You may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head.
He didn't say that. He didn't threaten you.
I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
He doesn't disturb you when you're sleeping.
Of course not. That's when all his votes come in.
All right, that's the end of it. So yeah, I think that the actual debate was a little more even-handed on the moderators' parts, and but yeah, that was still I laughed. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I like that. I thought the moderators did an okay job. What do you think, Simon?
Well, they're both super Zionists, and I would reiterate the point that they picked Biden off the floor, metaphorically speaking, on several occasions. So, they really could have pounced on him when he was stumbling and bumbling. And frankly, it's surprising that Trump didn't make more of a point of that. Once he said, I don't understand what this guy just said, and I don't think he does either. And that was the only dig, apart from this discussion that was a bit juvenile about the mental competency test that Trump claims he's taken on 2 occasions. But I mean, there were several occasions when Trump could have really repeated Biden's words back if he could memorize them that fast, and just said that's complete gibberish, and this guy should literally be in a nursing home.
Right. There were some rumors that some of Trump's advisors were telling him that he needed to go easy as far as the mental competency goes. Like, don't take cheap jabs at that.
I mean, to be honest, I think that's incredibly ludicrous, because they're within the margin of error of each other on the national polls. I appreciate you have to look at the key battleground states, but when you do look at those key battleground states, some of them, they have a 9 to 15% undecided. And if that undecided breaks 2/3 Biden, 1/3 Trump, Biden's going to win those. So there's still a large, as incredible as it seems, one that those are our choices, which isn't strictly true, because of course there was Kennedy, who was doing his own broadcast, standing at the side of the screen, throwing out debate points. And I haven't yet had the opportunity to watch that in full. I'll definitely try and do that tomorrow morning. But I think Trump, he's got a problem with independence. He's not appearing nearly as coherent as he was 4 years ago. He's
4 years is a lot of years when you're 70 plus. I mean, it's almost logarithmic.
Melania has completely disappeared from the campaign trail. That, I think, is concerning. And so, it's his to lose. And, this is before the Democrats suddenly magic up an extra 50 million postal ballots. Yeah. So, everyone's mocking, but, it's not going to be Biden pulling the levers of power on election night, just as it hasn't been him pulling the levers of powers for the last 3 years.
Well, see, the thing, we still don't know who the hell that is.
And we never will.
I didn't quite follow. I thought it was categorically stated that Trump was going to introduce who his vice presidential candidate was tonight during the debate. Did I miss that? I thought I watched the entire thing. I never saw him introduce the vice presidential candidate.
Nope.
That was all over.
Okay.
All over the media that he was going to declare that tonight.
He never did. I listened to almost.
It was on InfoWars repeatedly. They were all speculating about who it was going to be.
How is Doug Burgum in there? That is such a dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb
JD
choice.
Vance,
Well,
I can
you
see.
say it's dumb. You say it's dumb, but they keep on putting in Rubio and DeSantis, and they can't even be considered because they're in the same state.
Donald. Don't forget Donald.
Yeah, Byron Donald.
Well, Donald's is in Florida as well.
Yeah. All three. I don't know why they keep putting those out there.
Well, Florida's got stacked potential.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't gain any. I mean, Trump always says, your VP doesn't get you votes. It helps you in states you need to win, though.
Yeah, but depending on who his VP is, that could be his lifeline. Because if it's somebody like a Doug Burgum, who nobody knows really anything about, and he seems like he's a pretty boring guy, that to me equals somebody that might be easily controlled. So any type of an assassination attempt would scale exponentially. Whereas somebody that they're actually afraid of, somebody like a JD Vance or a Vivek Ramaswamy, they would be like, if we kill Trump, then we're going to get somebody who's just as bad or maybe even worse as far as their point of view goes.
JD Vance has taken the pledge of the Wailing Wall in 2022. I don't think it's going to be any different.
I think as far as getting vote potential, you got to have Tim Scott or Glenn Youngkin.
No, is Tim Scott gay or not? I thought that was widely rumored, like Lindsey Graham.
So he went out and got married in a hurry. I mean,
yeah,
you're going to count on him getting some black votes with that one. And the Glenn Youngkin.
So did Marco Rubio, and who was that other really famous American actor during the 50s? Rock Hudson.
Rock Hudson, yeah.
Yeah, so we've seen that scam pulled a few times.
Youngkin, though, has a lot of middle-of-the-road appeal, and he's from a state that...
Yeah, but Youngkin hasn't been very successful as a governor. He lost the midterms in the state, and he's only been in office 2 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all his short list sucks, I guess. I don't know where they came up with this at. Seems like they could have tried harder. It sounds like you're kind of leaning towards Doug Burgum. I mean, who do you like out of his short list?
I think, Doug raised his profile during the campaign. Trump seems to like him. He's not 40 years or 30 years younger than him, unlike, Swampy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a possibility. Knowing would be a disaster from South Dakota.
She's got a bunch of open secrets in South Dakota that haven't been made.
Yeah, she would be just like Sarah Palin. That would just be absolutely toxic.
Her and her cuck husband.
And, Tulsi Gabbard, is still a possibility, but then everyone's going to figure out she's a battalion commander of a PSYOPs battalion. So they're going to feel like a PSYOPs is being run on them.
She's it.
As she tours
is Lujan in her battalion? You know what that is? You know what that is, don't you, Hobbs?
Yeah.
The PSYOPs e-girl. I wonder if she's in Tulsi's battalion.
So, I mean, beside that nationally humiliating spectacle that we just endured for an hour and 40 minutes, we've had Lavrov speak on the 21st, 24th, and the 25th about the Greater Eurasian Partnership. I mean, he is really, really out there. And he spoke for 2 hours and 17 minutes at the, essentially, what are the Primakov Memorial Lecture Series. It's the 10th anniversary of that. It's actually technically called the Primakov Readings in Russia. And his speech there, which I'm still literally going through with a fine-tooth comb, is an absolute incredible tour de force of factual information. And we've had this going on now since the May 16th press conference, where Putin sat next to President Xi of China and said literally the end game is the Greater Eurasian Partnership. And no Western media have covered any of these speeches for the last 5 weeks. And literally, by sheer mathematical probability, you would think that some journalist from either Britain or America would just stumble across one of these transcripts and actually take the time to read it. And I'm just flabbergasted that Sam Cheney and I have now put out 3 documentaries on this subject. The last one literally posted in the last few minutes. It's on weaponizednews.com. And we spend an hour analyzing the 1 hour speech that Sergei Lavrov gave in Minsk to the Academy of Public Management on the 24th. And then the other speech that he did was on the first day of the 2-day Primakov readings. And we'll get that out as soon as we can, either tomorrow or Saturday. But I mean, you know, like you guys, you know, we work hard and we do a small podcast, but it's just astonishing how this concept has been agreed by Putin and Xi, and we now have the exact date that we know they agreed to merge Putin's scheme with the Belt and Road Initiative. And it's on a document on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs website that says that they met and agreed that they would combine the 2 schemes on the 8th of May 2015. So over 9 years ago. And, you know, Lavrov is literally giving us lists of countries like India and Vietnam and China and Pakistan who have been discussing this for years, and now the whole scheme is being rolled out. Lavrov, when he was with the Belarusian foreign minister, said that they had issued an invite to the head of every single regional bloc within the Eurasian continent to come and speak with them in literally like a brainstorming session. Because Putin has specifically told them, do not go around telling people this is like a take it or leave it deal like America does. Say to people, this is like open coding architecture, and you can contribute your ideas right now, and we'll build the whole final model around what you would like to most see included in it. And so the Eurasian Economic Union and the SCO and the GCC and the Arab League and ASEAN and ECO, these guys, all the annual chairmen, are all being invited to a big get-together to go over this. And don't forget, on the 1st of July, China is going to become the head of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization for a year. They've got a 6-month overlap with Russia. Lula da Silva, the president of Brazil, is heading the G20 until the end of the year. So there's a 6-month overlap with another BRICS member there. And on the sidelines of the Primakov readings, the deputy Russian foreign minister, a guy called Ryabkov, he talked not only about the Russian nuclear weapon use doctrine being revised now, not in the future, as Putin had suggested last Friday, but he said this was discussed at the conference yesterday and today, Rybakov did, and he said, despite what President Putin indicated about this being a possibility, he said, I can tell you that the committees have been formed and they are actively working on the rewriting of Russia's first use policy. I
So
mean,
this-
this is big,
yeah.
big freaking news. And then he also announced, he said that he felt that it was unlikely that BRICS in October in the annual summit would be significantly expanded in terms of full members because there's still no charter with a set of rules yet. And he said if we make it much bigger, it's going to be hard to rule by consensus. But he said we have over 30 applicants in writing, and what we're going to do is respond to them with partnership status, which is going to be like observer at the UN or something. And he said, so all of these people will be able to attend the conferences, they'll be able to send representatives, they'll be able to sign up to the joint statements, but they may not have a vote yet. And the other big news that was mentioned was that Belarus, who have been waiting to join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, it was announced that Lukashenko would be there and that Belarus's full membership would literally be announced in like the first sentence, and then he would take his seat at the round table as a full member representing Belarus. So that's like basically like guaranteed second vote for anything the Russians want to do in any of those organizations. So Belarus is going to be in SCO, and then they're going to be squeezed into BRICS if Putin has anything to do with it whatsoever. So I mean
Russia really
some...
seems to be building a sprawling alliance system here. And meanwhile, we're stuck with Europe and Israel, which seems to get us nothing.
See, like yesterday, Lavrov, he reiterated. He said the Greater Eurasian, specifically used this phrase, the Greater Eurasian Partnership is open to everyone in Europe. And he said, I hope they come to their senses and realize that the Americans are like grinding them into the economic dust, and that this is the way of the future, and that we connect this all the way from the Pacific Ocean to like Lisbon.
Well, I mean, he's not lying. If you look at a chart showing GDP over the last 10 years, I mean, America is grinding Europe into dust.
and not only that, but we're selling them super overpriced LNG. And meanwhile, all the manufacturing businesses, or lots of them, are actually moving to the United States. I mean, it's a double, you know.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Rate.
What do we get out? I mean, what can Europe offer the United States at this point besides buying our shit? Is that basically all they're for?
Well, that's exactly what we're doing. Like during the medical intervention period, we're now doing a massive wealth transfer as European taxpayers are being told, oh, you've now got to go from 2% of GDP in NATO funding to 3%, and that extra 1% needs to be on, you know, Abrams, Apaches, and Patriot missiles.
Well, so before we close out for the night, you sent me something about the American embassy in Lebanon.
Oh, no. I mean, over 10 countries have now told their citizens, get the hell out while you still can.
Of Lebanon.
And of Lebanon. Yeah. And supposedly the DOD is rushing amphibious assault ships and stuff in order to conduct a seaborne evacuation.
This is because Israel decided they need to beat up some more people?
They're going in. They're going in, you know. Hoggstein told the Lebanese 5 weeks, and it looks like it could be in days. Because this is perfect timing for them, because they're worried about the Iranians intervening, but it's the Iranian presidential election tomorrow. Literally, it's like starting in a few hours.
There's a lot of Christians in Lebanon, aren't there?
What's that, sorry?
Isn't Lebanon have a huge Christian population?
You've got Christian Maronites. Yeah. But some of the Sunni groups have said they're going to fight with Hezbollah. So, like in Yemen, we may find that, you know, even though these people hate each other and regularly chop each other up, that actually the opportunity to fight the Aardvarks is a unifying event.
Yeah, I mean, is this going to be a steamroll for Israel, or are they actually going to face some opposition?
No, so they've taken 9 months fighting
Hamas and not winning, despite killing and wounding about 120,000 civilians. And now Gantz, who resigned just last week from the Israeli cabinet, has promised on TV, we can defeat Hezbollah in 3 days. So we got our ass kicked by Hamas for 9 months. But somehow the same guys who fought in Gaza are now going to go up against 100,000 Hezbollah fighters with hundreds of thousands of missiles that are going to get backup from the Iraqi Popular Militia, from the IRGC, and from Syria. And somehow he thinks they can defeat them in 3 days.
Well, isn't
absolutely absurd?
Isn't a lot of the border area of Lebanon with Israel, isn't that Christian? Aren't those Christian groups in those areas?
No.
Okay.
Along in South Lebanon, it's mainly Hezbollah, so they're Shia Muslim.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of going to have a similar situation where when we were in Afghanistan, anybody wanted to kill Americans, got their ass to Afghanistan. Is that what is going to happen in Lebanon, is what you're saying?
No, but it's more than that, because the Hezbollah guys really held their ground in 2006, and that was just a month-long fight. And the Israelis are just flat out saying, we're just going to literally, turn them into the Stone Age. So what they've done in Gaza, they're going to do from Beirut south. And, already the chairman of the electricity grid in Israel has told people be ready for no electricity for 3 days or more. And then the response from the foreign secretary of Israel was, if we lose power for a few hours, Beirut will lose electricity for a few months. They've only had 4 hours electricity a day for the last 3 years because they haven't had the money to import any fuel. So the Lebanese, frankly, are used to living like that, unpleasant though it is. The Israelis most definitely are not. The most recent reports I've seen is people are partying in Tel Aviv like they're partying in Kiev. And these people have no idea what the hell is going to happen to them. When Ben Gurion Airport gets shut down, they're all going to be trying to evacuate from Haifa, and then Haifa port's going to start being shelled viciously. And they're not going to be able to go out through Jordan.
Does this tie into them changing the draft guidelines for Orthodox then? They need to widen their pool a little bit?
So they had a law that exempted the people of the Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox, who were studying at yeshivas, and they were falsely equating reading the Old Testament repeatedly whilst rocking backwards and forwards as the equivalent of being shot at in Gaza. And I think most people would beg to differ on that assessment. But they've now, because that law expired without it being extended, just like the assault weapons ban had a 10-year sunset provision in it. So that law had a sunset provision in it, and they hadn't dealt with it. They hadn't started conscripting the religious student folk. And so other organizations took the government to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court gave them a chance to pass the law. They still didn't get it done. I think it's had one reading. It was extremely controversial. One of the many features of Israeli society that's causing it to really split down the middle. And now the Supreme Court has said not only should all of those students be eligible for conscription, bear in mind it's for 3 years, for men and women, 3 years, right? But that any school that doesn't cooperate with the draft boards should have all of their government funding immediately cancelled. But in the meantime, Smotrich, who's the Treasury Secretary and also essentially the civilian governor of the West Bank, albeit in a secondary role within the Ministry of Defense, he's trying to roll through administrative annexation of the West Bank without actually using the word annexation. And the Israeli cabinet just confirmed even more features of that today, including
basically cancelling the status of what's called Area B. So under the Oslo Accords, you had Area A, Area B, and Area C. Area A was fully under Palestinian control in theory. Area B was joint control, and Area C was under Israeli control. All right? And so in that area, they've been refusing to give any Palestinian families building permits. And if they go ahead and build without a permit, even if it's like a school or hospital or whatever, they just go in with bulldozers and just bulldoze the whole thing. And so now they're saying that Smotrich wants to have full administrative control over Area B, which is basically a violation of the Oslo Accords from 1992, and essentially make Area B the same as Area C, which means full Israeli security and administrative control. And they've announced another 5,000 settlement houses and legalization of 5 outposts that had previously been declared illegal, either by the Israeli government or the Israeli courts. So, I mean, they are literally flipping the bird to the entire world and trying to jam through this annexation, without using that express word, before they either lose a war or they lose an election. So they're trying to, like the Obama administration did, and like the Biden administration has been doing, put as many pro-annexation and pro-settlement civil servants into positions of power as they can possibly manage. And at the same time, it looks like they're going to collapse the entire banking system in the West Bank by stopping Israeli banks operating as correspondent services for the few small Palestinian banks, and also continuing to withhold all the tax revenue that was previously being put into a trust account held by the Norwegians. But because Norway recognized Palestine as a separate state, they're now refusing to give the money to the Norwegians, and no other country's been willing to deal with the Israelis on that basis. So, I mean, it's one hell of a mess there.
Yeah, we'll have to watch for that next week, you think, to have Israel and Lebanon?
It is fantastically dangerous, because America is, we're sending in Marine expeditionary units right now, not by helicopter, but by ship. And so we've got thousands of guys ready to be deployed. And supposedly, we've got 5,000 guys unofficially in Jordan, which is a massive increase. Right. And we also sent a 40-vehicle convoy with extra soldiers, full to the gunwale with fuel and munitions, into the northernmost US base in Syria this week as well. 40 vehicles jam-packed with ammo and fuel and extra guys. So they're clearly expecting to have those bases assaulted, either by Syrian militia or by Iraqi militia. I mean, there could be some real attempts to overrun several American bases in the Middle East.
Much in the way they say the children yearn for the mines, American military yearns for the desert. I guess we've been out there for what, a whole 2 years,
and nobody's covering the Great Eurasian Partnership. Nobody's covering the troops going into Jordan. Barely anyone's covering. The Cradle Media did about these reinforcements in Syria. And bear in mind, having watched that debate, remember Trump ordered all the guys to be taken out of Syria. The military told him it had been done, and they lied. There was still 900 guys left there. So, he's talking about, draining the swamp. And lots of people are speculating that Mike Pompeo, if he doesn't get nominated for Secretary of State, is going to get put down as VP. So the director of the CIA, like George Bush Sr., is somehow an indication of Trump draining the swamp.
he's not going to drain the swamp. He could have done it. I don't see it happening. But we're well over an hour.
No problem at all, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank
What do
you
you got
so
going on
much.
for the show tomorrow, Simon, that people could catch you?
Well, we'll be on Twitter, Odyssey, X, Facebook, and Rumble and Rothkin. And people are most welcome to join us. We'll be on at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. We'll be covering Z's speech if the transcript is available in English or Chinese. By that point, given they're 12 hours ahead of us, probably will be. They tend to put that out very quickly because, unlike Trump, Z does not go off the teleprompter. He really, really sticks to the script.
So after you watch,
but I mean, to give you an idea, though, they had the Vietnamese president in China today.
Mm.
They have the Peruvian president was there earlier this week, and they are really, really racking up the signatories to their various schemes, and we're just taking losses at the moment. And I really wonder whether or not America is keen to see all of these regions go up in flames, because it delays the otherwise head of steam that the Russians have got for implementing this vision that apparently has been agreed upon since May of 2015. And this is the critical 6 months starting on the 1st of July, when Russia's in control of one of the groups and China's in control of the other groups. They're both coordinating with each other, working on the same agenda, and they can get a heck of a lot done when they control, the way the meetings are being run and who is being invited to them.
So yeah, we'll have to watch for that, see what China gets up to. Watch for
And
Lebanon.
did you want to mention, Hobbs, I believe you've got a special show tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Yep, I mentioned it once, but I'll mention it again here before we close out. And
So after you watch Weaponized
give 'em
News,
the
if you're
horn.
over there, come on over and watch Hobbs tomorrow. And Hobbs, you're going to have... Go ahead.
Michael Cargill of Central Texas Gunworks, the man behind the Supreme Court decision to overturn the bump stock ban. It will be, I think, a very good interview, and we'll have lots of questions. So if you guys have questions for him about the case, about how everything proceeded, please feel free to jump down into the comment sections, give your comments, ask your questions, drive the algorithm. It really does help.
Great. So thanks for joining us, Simon. I will try and catch your show tomorrow. Maybe you can catch that Cargill interview. I'm sure you'd enjoy hearing about that.
Yes,
too.
indeed. I'll happily share all your links and stuff if you copy me on those. And over the weekend, if people have some downtime and they want to learn about the idea of the Great Eurasian Partnership, they can go to weaponizednews.com, and all the documentaries are posted there, or they're highlighted in the
Sounds
Weaponized
like
News.
sounds like
Twitter
lawn
page.
mowing fodder. Put your buds in, listen to that, mow your lawn, drink some beer, good old time. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks, Simon. As always, stay honky.